Satnam, aloha everyone. Happy solstice. Hope you're all having a great solstice. And if you haven't watched my last live stream, it's all on the solstice in shadow pattern and according to your sun sign, rising, and moon. So you want to check that out. And so if you could put your name and where you're logging in from, that would be great. And so today I want to talk about abundance and prosperity, because that seems to be a big theme for people in this day and age. And just because of all the fears about the money system collapsing and those types of things, and then the things rising in price, and it's just been with us for a long time, right? Is this money fears. And we have to remember too that we have to transcend the frequency of fear for the Aquarian age and our fear of the material world. And something has to hold the frequency of fear on the planet. And that right now is money. Money is just, it symbolizes fear. That's what it is. So it brings up fear. It's doing its job, right? So that we can transcend this fear. So I want to talk about the shadow pattern and the gift that are directly connected to money and this fear. Okay, let me just get the chart up here. Whoops. Let me get rid of this overlay from last time. There we go. So this is the 14 right there. The 14, and it's in the shadow of compromise. It's the gift of adept, and it's it's the gift of abundance. I spelled that wrong. I was in a rush. There it is there, the 214. And remember that the shadow has two flavors. So we've got impotent and enslaved, right? So this goes with the shadow of compromise. So this 214 here that you're looking at, that makes a channel because we got the two gates, right? We've got the 2, and that joins up with the 14, and that creates a channel. So you may have this channel yourself. So you want to check that out and go to jovionarchive.com and get your free chart. I always have the link in my information box on my video down below. So 214 is called the channel of the beat. Channel of the beat. So there's a magnet. We are a magnet. Okay, science hasn't caught up with that. And we have a monopole. This is called the monopole. So notice that I'm saying mono, right? It means one. So it means it attracts experiences into your life, but doesn't repel them, right? This is the monopole. And that's in the number 2. This keeps us in the illusion of the Maya too, this second gate as well. So it's really important. Then it's connecting with this 14, right? So this kind of keeps us in on our destiny, basically, right? Through the trajectory, our spiritual path, I would say it that way. So compromise, the shadow of compromise. And I've used this image before. I really like using images. They convey so much more than words, you know? So if you look at, because the 14 is about our power, right? It's coming off the sacral there. It's about our power center. Okay, so we have power. And then every time we compromise, okay, so this is compromising our authentic self. There's a hole gets punched in that bucket. So every time you say something, you know you're feeling something inside. Somebody says, how you doing, right? You're feeling like crap, and you're not being in truth, and it's like, I'm fine, everything's great. There's a hole in the bucket, right? Leaking your energy. Every time you settle for second best, well, I really want this, I really want to do this, I really enjoy this kind of work. but I got to get a job, right? I got bills to pay. This is just the way things are. Another hole in the bucket, right? Every time you stay in a relationship, you know that's not serving your highest good. Boom, another hole in the bucket, right? We're trained. We're basically trained to compromise from day one. You know, it's the propaganda that, oh, you just compromise. That's just the way it is, right, in life. And this is what the ego says. Remember Wormtongue, I use him as the ego. He's from the Lord of the Rings, whispering in the king's ear under a spell, right? And this is what the ego is like. It's that voice in our head. That's not us. It's that foreign installation, right? So what does the ego say? You have to be responsible. You have to be realistic, you know? You got to grow up, right? This is just the way things are in the world. And we have this, you know, as children, we naturally have that imagination and optimism and dreaming, and it just gets beaten out of us, right, through the school system and through our parents who most likely did not live their dreams either, right? Because they went through the same conditioning as us. So it's basically compromising your dreams, values, and your authentic self in exchange for material security. This is where it gets you, right? Because it's the frequency of fear, this needing material security. Right? And that's what the ego has up its sleeve. Well, you've got to do this because you've got to pay your rent and you have to do this and you have to do that. No trust in the divine whatsoever, right? So compromise is really to die your life. It's not living your life, it's dying your life. So, you know, Wormtongue, the ego says you've got no power. You have no power. And you believe it. I have no power to change my life, right? To create something different, to live my dreams, to walk my soul purpose. I've got no power, right? And you believe it. And in order to survive in this world, you have to make compromises. You got to fit in with this system. So, interestingly enough, this 14, because there's the channel, 214, the channel of the beat, but also every gate has a programming partner and that hold hands, right? They're like twins and they walk together, they work together. And it's the 8, right? The 14 and the 8 hold hands. And the 8, what's the 8 about? Being your authentic self, right? To be your authentic self. And this is the fear of what other people think of me, right? Fear of fitting in. I have to fit into this system, right? Even though I'm a round peg, I'm going to like make myself get into that square hole because that's just the way things are, right? And these two are very creative. Like the 8 is all about being your unique self, right? And now in the Aquarian age, I mean, we have to be our authentic selves. Nothing else will work. You have to be your authentic self. So everything that's happening in your life, like the losses and the challenges, and, you know, we're all going through it. It's just showing you that you're not being your authentic self. And it's really coming through second chakra issues. And that's with our relationships and with money. Right? So if there's something not, like the money's just not flowing in and you're having money problems, you got to look at like what you're doing, right? The universe is giving you a big favor. It's giving you a big sign. You know, something has to change. You have to change. Or your relationships. You got to take off the roles. You have to take off these masks that you've been wearing in your relationships, right? And what we do when we don't want to change, this is our animal self. We bang our head against the wall. We keep trying to do the same things over and over and over again, and they don't work, right? That's the definition of insanity. Doing the same things over and over and expecting a different outcome, right? So life will pummel you until you become your authentic self. So the 14 is about trusting your dreams, trusting your desires. Remember Saturn is in the 30. That's all about getting in touch with our soul's desires. Why did we come here on this planet? We've come here for a reason, right? To do our soul's destiny and to contribute something really unique to the world that only you, there's 7.5 billion people, there's only one you, right? So you got to really get that and stop listening to worm tongue telling you lies. These are the lies that are told to everybody on this planet about compromising, right? So really it's about, this is a spiritual problem, right? It's not a money problem. Don't go into the like, oh, I got a money problem or I got a relationship problem. You have to go to like, I have a spiritual problem. All the problems can be solved by one thing, and that's connecting to our soul again, right? Coming back into our true nature. And so look what happens here, right? Because the security, right? Because we're looking for security. We want security. There's a part of us that knows we don't belong on this planet, that we're tourists. We're just here for a brief time, right, on this planet. And then we're off somewhere else after the journey. And so the mind and the ego wants security, but it's not our security. That's why if you really feel into this, every cell of your body, you can feel there's this undercurrent of insecurity there, right? And so where is our security found? Right? It's found within your infinite soul. That's your true security right there. Not money, not the rich husband or the rich wife or your family, right? Or your job or that paycheck coming in or little g. Little g wants to be your security. That's what they're after. It's like, no, your real security is found within your infinite soul. So it's like, get to God and everything gets to you, right? Everything will chase you. But this is what we're being called to do for the Aquarian age. So look at this. In truth, you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, right? You're the child of the divine. You're born with a silver spoon. You're richer than any billionaire on this planet, when you're connected to the divine, because this is where everything comes from. All those little pieces of paper and coin, they come from the divine. So we're here to inherit a rich, fulfilling, passionate, 14 is all about passion, passionate life to experience abundance. And this means you're passionate about the work that you do. That's what the 14 is about, is the work, right? We're here to contribute. There's this fear like, well, what if everybody had universal basic income? They wouldn't do anything. And it's like, no, because the soul wants to contribute and wants to give. That's the law of the universe. We really want that. But in our unique way, not as a slave, right? But as our unique empowered self, as our infinite self. And look what happens to worm tongue. There's the little ego. He like reduces when you're in your infinite self and in your power, transcending fear. Doesn't mean you don't feel it, but you transcend it. You don't let it pull you down. Compromise pulls you down into that frequency. And then all you hear is him, right? All you hear is that ego. And that's who you're getting advice from, right? The worst life coach in the world is that ego. It's just going to take you to destruction, right? So when you're here, worm tongue gets really, really small. Right? Like a little mosquito, and you can barely hear that voice anymore. When you're in fear, that voice gets loud. Totally drowns out your intuition. Totally. Right? All you hear is that, like I said, the ego takes up a lot of space in that head. Giving you bad advice. Giving everybody else in the world bad advice too, and then they're parroting the ego, right? So when you're in this space of the infinite self, then this voice gets really like a little mosquito, like a little buzz of a mosquito, right? And when it gets louder, that's showing you this is high frequency, right? When you're in your infinite soul, when you're in that vibration of love, right? When you're in the vibration of doing your soul purpose, when you're feeling enthusiastic and passionate and excited to get up in the morning, right? To do your, whatever it is you're being called to do, what your soul contract was before you were born, right? Then this becomes really real. So that's showing you that's high frequency, okay? So you can use this duality, because this is duality right here, ego and your infinite soul. These two are the opposite. And then when that ego is starting to get louder and louder, That's just showing you, oh, I'm lowering in my frequency. I've got to make an adjustment. I'm responsible for my own state of consciousness, and I can shift it. I'm able to shift it. I'm empowered, right? That's what this is all about. This is about empowerment, right? This 214 and the 14 in particular. So this is your true security, not a bunch of dollars and you begging and pleading, compromising yourself, right? Enslaved to some system that's doesn't serve you whatsoever, doesn't empower you, right? Or impotent, feeling I've got no power to do anything, right? So this means you got a really, your third chakra is really, really weak. It's all about fire in the belly, right? That's the third chakra energy to do your soul purpose. So there's lots to say about compromise here in abundance. So you want to look at where you're compromising in your life right now. And if nothing's coming to mind right away, just put a little prayer out, like show me where I'm compromising, where I've been compromising in my life, where I'm losing my power. Because you want to plug up all those holes, right? There's the, just remembering the spiritual teaching. What does it mean to be holy? What does it mean to be holy? Well, they say to be holy is to watch what's going in and out of your 9 holes. That's what it means to be holy, right? So this is about conserving your energy. Carlos Castaneda, I'm just thinking of that Don Juan, right? The teacher, and Carlos Castaneda talked about our awareness, because this is our awareness starts leaking. This means our power starts leaking, right? So we've got to look at all the ways that we compromise. And we're taught, right? We're conditioned to compromise. And you may have, like your parent, one of your parents will be like, if you can't see it in yourself, you're going to see it in other people, how they compromise. And it just takes little things where you compromise, but they add up. And then your power starts leaking, right? And then you're lower in frequency and you're listening to him. You want to plug up those holes and you want to get up here, right? Up here. So I like to look at the numerology, in other archetypes and bring them in. I'm really into the tarot, which are ancient archetypal symbols. So it's 14, right? It's the 14. And the 14 in the major arcana is called temperance. And then that reduces 4 + 1 = 5. And that's the Hierophant. So this is really showing us, because it's 5s, right? 14 and then 5. They both are reduced to 5. That this is about change. 5 is about change. And 5 in numerology is very unstable. And that's what change is. It puts you in an unstable position. And people are really get uncomfortable, right? And they're looking for that comfort. So this is where we're in right now as a humanity. We're like in a halfway point, right? With this 5, because it's unstable. So it's about a choice point. It provides a choice point. Where am I going to go, right? Am I going to listen to that? Or am I going to go up here, right? That's your choice point. So it's really about balance, right? It's about balance. So what happens with growth? We're growing and we're evolving. We're having our experiences, our spiritual experiences. We're in Earth School. So we make 2 steps forward, okay? And what we do is we take 2 steps forward and then 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And the 1 step back, it's not means you're regressing. It means you're just recalibrating. That's what I call it. You're recalibrating. So when you go through a big experience where you're growing, you'll notice that, I've got to retreat a little bit. This is the balance, right? It's the dance. You're dancing with the universe when you do this as you grow, because you want to recalibrate, which is coming into balance again, right? So that you're on solid ground, and that's just typical on the spiritual journey. So this is balance, and this angelic figure, right? That's Archangel Michael, right? So you see that his 1 foot is on the solid the practical, the Saturn, right? And then his other foot's in the water, and that's like the subconscious mind. That's the emotions, right? And then it's like an alchemy, right? We're totally in that phase right now for the Aquarian age because we're evolving through the emotional body, right? And it's fluid. So we really need to embrace flexibility. That's one of the gifts of the 14 too for abundance, is to be flexible, right? And to be creative, right? And to be creative is to be flexible, like water, you know? And so this is showing us that we need balance, right? We need to bring more and more balance into our life. And we've been conditioned to be extreme, right? In terms of the work and how our work schedule's been imposed on us right from school. It starts with school. This is, you go from this time to this time. And the developmental stages of children, I mean, what are you in Canada? You're 5 years old in primary, and then on, and you're supposed to be out in nature. You're supposed to be running around, not sitting behind a desk or taking orders from a teacher. That's, you know, the indoctrination teacher. It so goes against our nature, completely goes against our nature. But the purpose of it is to make us good little slaves, right? So that we learn to be obedient, not question authority, do as we're told, sit in that desk, sit behind that computer desk, whatever job you have. Homework is all about getting you used to working overtime, right? So you just get conditioned to this system. It's like grooming you to move into this system so that you're a good little slave. So all that's changing, right? So that's the shadow of compromise, how that compromise works. You know, where sometimes you feel restless. I actually noticed that with myself the last time I had a job, right? And I'm behind the desk and I had computer work to do. And I remember this restless feeling in me and I was fighting it. And I caught myself. It's like, what's this coming from? I have this big fear of like getting up and even walking around the office because I had my own office, right? And I thought, oh, the intuition came to me. It's like, oh, this is from school. Because I was afraid to get up out of my desk and move around, right? Because you're not allowed to do that. You have to ask permission. And here I am. It's like I'm doing it to myself. That's the thing, right? We get conditioned by these teachers and authority figures, and then we become our own worst enemy. We internalize that. We internalize our parents and these authority figures, and then we do it to ourselves. So we got to really watch this. So that's what this temperance is saying for the 14 in abundance is the balance. And your life's going to show you where you're out of balance, right? Out of balance. So if your home life's a catastrophe and, right, it's maybe showing you too much focused on work, right? And then the other way around, if it's too much play, then your material world's kind of falling apart. It's just finding this balance, the balance of the masculine and the feminine energies too. Am I too in my masculine? Am I too go? Not more in my feminine, attracting, or I'm too much in my feminine and kicking back and not acting, taking action on my intuition, right? So you want to just look at that in truth. And I love this quote. I put this, you probably saw it if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram. The degree to which a person can grow is in direct proportion to the amount of truth they can accept about themselves without running away. This is shadow work, right? This is shadow work. And the ego wants you to refute. It doesn't want truth getting near you. And right? And this is not just negative stuff, because people go to negative. Oh, I don't want to face these negative qualities about myself. This also works the other way, right? The golden shadow. Looking at things, your greatness, not your grandiosity, but your greatness at a soul, right? That I don't want to accept what my intuition is telling me, my destiny is, and what my gifts, my greatest gifts and talents are, and I'm here to deliver that, maybe in a big way, right? So you've got to look at that, like just face the truth. The compromise Because ego is going to teach you to compromise that. Now, that's not true about you. These negative things are, and then it will blow the negative things out of proportion, right? So you can't do any healing when you're in this space. There's no security there. There's no solid ground when you're with the ego. You're just going to be tossed back and forth. But you want to make your infinite self, your intuition, your soul, this is your security. This is your solid ground. And then you can face the shadow. Then you can face all these things about yourself that you don't want to face. But you got to get to this point, right? So it's get to God and everything gets to you, including your healing. Then you can look at it. But you can't look at it from here. You're not in solid ground here. You're under his spell, right? He's going to take you back and forth. He's going to take you out of truth. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to talk about with compromise, like there's lots to talk about with the 14, but I was really called to just because of this word temperance. I started meditating on temperance. And temperance is interesting, temper. Temper comes from temperance. And this is balance, like losing your temper. I'm losing my balance, right? When I'm angry, when I'm in these emotional states. Well, temperance also connects to alcohol, right? So I talked about this before, and I think it's worth talking about again. The spiritual effects of alcohol. You're not going to hear this on the news, mainstream news. You're not going to hear this from Western medicine. You're certainly not going to hear this from the oligarchs, right, in advertising. So you can see this little creature here, right, on top of this guy. He's obviously drunk, right, and passed out at the bar. So we have to look at, because alcohol takes you out of balance, right? Speaking of balance, and it's compromising. It's a compromise of your soul. Now I'm talking about, I'm not, I'm not here like as this isn't a moral thing, and I'm not, some religious fanatic. So it's the devil, blah, blah, blah. You're going to hell if you drink alcohol. Like I'm not in that trip, right? You make your own choice. What I'm all about is educating people, right? Giving them the information, and then they make their choice from there, right? So I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm sharing information that's not out there, right? So the spiritual effects of alcohol, and you probably have had this experience yourself, right? And especially watching other people get drunk too. So basically, there's different realms of existence that live on this plane, and it's all about frequency, right? So we're in a particular frequency as a human, but then there's the demonic, I don't want to scare people, but the demonic lower frequency realm, and then the higher frequency realm, and that's the angelic realm. Okay, and we're in all three, basically. So they say during this time in the Aquarian age that there's going to be more bleed through. There's going to be a bleed through where we're going to be able to see these entities, right? Right now we can't see them. Maybe you're able to see them. I can sense them. Like I'm more clairsentient. Sometimes I'm clairvoyant when I don't try. If I try, I'm not clairvoyant. But I have a clairsentient, and then just a knowingness. Like, when you walk into a house sometimes, or you're with certain people, it's like I can't describe it. It's like a chill. It's like a chill. You know that there's something off, right? It doesn't feel right. Well, you're sensing this other existence, this other realm, right? And so it's said that there'll be this bleed through. We're going to be able to see them more and more, like actually see them, right? Like physically, as these, as we start merging, right? For the Aquarian age, these realms of existence will start merging. So what alcohol does, right? It extracts the essence. That's why it's used in tinctures and essential oils. So it extracts the essence, right? Well, it extracts the soul, right? The essence of the entity with drunk. So in terms of balance, it's going to be different for each person, right? depending on you and your sensitivity. And when I really committed to my spiritual journey, I mean, that was the first thing to go, right? Not entirely, but my old way of being, right? Drinking, that went. And it wasn't like a moral thing, like I shouldn't drink. It was my body completely starting to reject it. It felt like poison to me. And I tried, right? Like I remember getting 3/4 of a beer, right? And I loved beer back in the day. And I would get sick, I'd throw up. And I thought, well, next time maybe a half. And it was just, I got sick again. It just kept, it was like, okay, I got to get rid of this entirely because my body didn't want anything more to do with it. And that's because my vibration started going up, right? So it's going to be different for you. You'll know, right? You'll know. So it extracts the very essence of the soul, allowing the body to be more susceptible to lower frequency entities. That's why these alcohols called spirits, right? So the soul, when it's drunk, right? When the human is drunk, the soul will leave the body, but it's still connected to the golden cord, right? So it's like hovering about, it's not in the body because the conditions of the body are too polluted, right? Too toxic for to tolerate. This is what happens to us during trauma, right? The soul will leave the body. It's just too toxic. It can't be there, right? Because it's such a low frequency. So the bodies are like cars for spirits, right? So these negative entities come in. Oh, the soul's gone. Hey, we can take this body for a ride, right? We can, like it's a carjacking. And this can lead to low frequency sexual encounters, right? And this, I talked about this before about sexual karma. Like sex is so powerful. We don't even know half of it. Probably not even a quarter of the truth of what's the power of sex, right? This is our creative energy. So it gets hot. That's why everything is about sex. Like this obsession with sex. They said this, the ancients said this. It'd be like this huge obsession with sex as we come more into the Aquarian age. Because it's our creative energy. But so it's about keeping it at a low frequency, right? So that's why the drunk sex, right? All the babies that have been conceived during drunk sex, right? So, and then they actually, I was looking into this a little bit way back with alcohol, that subliminal messages, they actually use, in cigarettes, they use that because it's bypassing the conscious mind, right? These images and symbols and going into the subconscious mind, right? And that's our desire nature. So we're definitely magnetized to that. And they do that with alcohol too. So, and plus more people who get drunk, like really drunk, you've heard of the yee-haws, and they get violent and, do negative things. And then you may have noticed a close friend or a family member or something, they turn ugly. Is it like they're all these soft, kind of doormat kind of people, you would say, but then they get some drinks in them and then they're suddenly obnoxious. Well, that's because this is happening, right? And it's about incurring karma and keeping you low, down in vibration, right? So, and what it does, not to mention it does all this, right? And as soon as like you're having like drunk sex, you're gone, your soul's gone, they're gone, boom, you got just an entity orgy, right, going on, right? Just feeding off your energy. And this is what it's going to do here. Major compromise, right? Major compromise and leaking your energy. And you'll notice too, like during the lockdown and stuff, they were closing down gyms, right? Gyms, healing centers, yoga centers. But what did they keep going? What was open? The liquor stores. They all stayed open. That was a necessary service. So this is part of keeping us in a low vibration, keeping us out of our power, humanity out of their power, and intoxicated, filled with toxins, out of our strength, out of our power, in our awareness just shrinking to the point that this is all we know. This is what we think is real, that ego, right? Meanwhile, that's really what the ego is. Like, even lower than that, I couldn't make him any lower because you wouldn't see him, So it clouds your third eye, right? So it affects your intuition. That's your guidance. You need this. You need your intuition, especially now. So if you're serious about your intuition and listening to it, then I would suggest just taking a little bit of respite. I mean, if you're using this as a crutch, well, everybody else is doing it, and it's legal. It's a totally acceptable addiction, right? Is alcohol. Doesn't mean that it's right. It's right. Man's law is fickle. It's up and down, right? We're talking about divine law, and it's time to really start taking care and respecting and honoring your energy. Do you want that taking you for a ride? And it may be very, very subtle, right? Your personality will change very, very subtly. You won't even realize it, So it's best to keep these things at bay, right? And just try it. It's like, okay, I'm going to see what happens to my intuition, what happens to my power of manifestation, right? My power, my healing powers. This could be totally hiding all these amazing gifts from you, this habit, right? I'm just going to try it for 40 days and see what happens. Well, what's going to happen is what's underneath this, right? And I talked about this before. This is the broken heart. That's the root of these cravings for alcohol, right? So the broken heart is a real thing. And they've discovered that it's the same wound, like there's a wound there. It's the same as losing a limb. It's the same as losing a limb in your body, this broken heart. This is the heart chakra. So what the alcohol does is it soothes your nervous system. That's what it does. So it gives you this temporary relief of the pain. When you say that when somebody's drunk, oh, he's feeling no pain. That's why, right? It's because you're putting the duct tape on the warning light in your car when you're drinking alcohol to avoid this pain, this broken heart. And we all have a broken heart from childhood because of this sick system that we've been brought up in, right? We're in the hospital plane, if you want to look at it like that. Like this earth is a hospital plane where we're healing. So what you have to do with this, because stuff will come up, especially if you're using it as a crutch, alcohol as a crutch, is have the experience, right? Don't just listen to what I'm saying or other people say about it. It will trigger people, especially if they're not friends of your consciousness and they're friends of habit. You're going to hear from them where, you have that friend you always go out and have a glass of wine with or something. They're going to get triggered by that, right? Because you're starting to heal. You're starting to see the truth, is to be warned. It's like, okay, I'm not going to do this. This stuff's going to start coming up, right? And emotional triggering is, how your so here's how the addictive cycle works, right? So the pain's coming because you can't hide it. You can't stuff it and repress it, especially if you're like, I'm not going to use this crutch anymore. I'm just going to let it come. I'm going to let it come up and I'm going to heal it. I'm going to face it and I'm going to confront it. Maybe for the first time in my life, like head on. You got to look at it like, where you've got that basement of stuff there and you've been always wanting to get rid of that stuff and deal with it and you keep postponing and putting it off and putting it off. One day you just roll up your sleeves and you say, this is the day. This is the day. I'm going down there and I'm going to do it. This is the day that I'm getting it done. You got to have that same kind of attitude with this, right? My broken heart. This is the day that I start to heal and do this inner work, right? This is part of your spiritual development. This is about emotional maturity. Until then, these emotions control you. They control you, totally control you. So the meditation, right? Kundalini yoga and meditation. I was just thinking of this the other day. What's great about Kundalini yoga and meditation, I went to the sound healing on the weekend. And it was all new agey and stuff, right? I'm not bashing new agey stuff, but it's not the same, right? Because it doesn't have a lineage. This new agey stuff does not have a lineage. And I was there. It was relaxing. It was nice, but it wasn't deep and transformative like Kundalini yoga and meditation retreats that I've been on and have taught in solstice and stuff. There's deep, like real change. Like you leave there and you're changed, right? You're a completely different person in a sense. It's because there's a lineage. This is 5,000 years old, this lineage. So the roots are deep. They go really, really deep. And this is what I didn't mention the Hierophant, right? That's the spiritual teacher. So, right, this is the deep roots, the lineage. That's what it's showing us that we need. We need balance and these deep, deep roots, right? For our abundance, for our spiritual growth, to be in our power. And this doesn't mean that you have an actual spiritual teacher in form, because remember, this is the guru, right? The spiritual teacher is the guru. And that means what takes you from darkness into light, right? It's like a guide, but it's a subtle energy, and it moves through form, right? It moves through forms, and it can move through anything. Your spiritual teacher can be anything, and your spiritual teacher is inside you. So you have your own inner guru inside you, and that's your intuition, right? But it has to have deep roots in a lineage. So you've got to look at your lineage. Like, what's your cultural background? What lineage are you attracted to? Chances are it comes from your past lives, right? Wherever you spent a lot of time, Tibetan Buddhism, maybe you're a yogi, maybe more into Christianity. But you've got to find those deep, deep roots within yourself in order to grow, right? So that you have this stability, right? And that's when real transformation happens, is when your roots are going deep, 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 thousands of years, like through all your lifetimes. So this is what Kundalini Yoga provides, right? For me personally, and probably people listening to that are drawn to me. So I put it in the information box, the meditation to heal a broken heart. The meditation to heal a broken heart. And practice that. Just start, this is you rolling up your sleeve. I'm just going to practice this meditation because it works with the heart meridian. Goes straight to that wound and starts to heal it. And you're going to have a big cry, right? That's just the side effects of healing is the cry. It's coming through our water, right? It's coming through water, our healing during the Aquarian age. And this, right? You lock yourself into it. You have the experience. You do it every day for 40 days, right? And it will start to heal that heart. And as the heart starts to heal, the alcohol cravings will start to go down, right? You're not going to crave them. And just make the commitment. It's all about commitment. It's like, I'm just going to commit. Like, I'm committing to rolling up my sleeves, cleaning up the basement. I'm committed to doing this inner work. And you'll be supported. You'll be supported to do that work, right? So just a few signs when you're emotionally triggered is you start to feel irritable. That's one sign, is you start to feel like you're uncomfortable in your own skin. So this starts to come up, and then the mind wants to come in, right? Worm tongue wants to come in. Start blaming everything outside of you. Start pointing you to distractions, pointing you to that bottle. Worm tongue's totally pointing you to the bottle to drink that. It doesn't want you in your power, right? Ego does not want you in your power. So that, like, I feel really restless and irritable and I feel like I'm going to scream. That's a sign that you're emotionally triggered, and that's a sign for you to stop and do long, deep breathing, or get on that meditation and start doing that meditation. The other thing is your thinking starts to get really negative. Usually you're very positive and you have a positive attitude, but your mind is just like negativity. The world is going to hell in a handbasket and all the negativity. That's another sign that something's coming, right? Because this ego wants you not to feel these emotions that are coming, this broken heart, right? The wound of the broken heart. But going for the bottle, going for food, going for sex, going for some kind of distraction, that means that you're emotionally triggered, or you're lashing out at other people, you're being impulsive, right? You're being reactive with people. You're just being over the top. You need to start taking responsibility for your emotions. This is what it means to be a spiritual adult, right? Is to get out of that ego space and into this space, the true security, right? So if you go down, know that you're going to go up, right? Those emotions are just like a block to you going up, even further up and up in vibration, right? Okay. So let me check the comments. And of course, right, when you got all those holes plugged up, then you got the gift, right? The gift of abundance, where you can attract everything that you need to you. Just by you being yourself. Just by you not compromising for second best, right? In your relationships, well, that person will do. They don't inspire me, but they're secure and they've got a good job, and and your intuition is screaming to get out of that relationship, or it's screaming for you to get out of that job and start living your dream. That's what you want to start listening to. This is the abundance. The abundance will follow you. And it's really, it's really based on, according to our chart too, we've got different relationships with prosperity. So my relationship with prosperity is called simplicity. So that means that I'm not really interested in money, and that's true. I've never been, of course I'm interested to pay my bills and all that stuff. And in that way, but not really not chasing the dollar. I was never one to chase the dollar, ever. And it's because of my relationship with prosperity is more like I like to create. That's what makes me feel prosperous, is having the freedom to create, right? In my life, create my little projects and my videos and, right? And my cards and things that I've done all my life, books and things like that. So that's how money is like kind of serves me to do that. So if I focus on just creating, right, and serving and contributing, because I've got that 8 and the 14 as well, then I'm given what I need. Not like tons and tons overflow, but I have just more than enough, right? That to me is prosperity, And of course, there's a shadow pattern, right, that can pull you away from your relationship with prosperity. And simplicity means I need my life simple, right? My needs need to be simple. Like clutter's not good for me at all, like just things like that. So it depends on your unique relationship with prosperity. Some people are, it's about celebration. That's another example. They're here, what makes them feel prosperous is being able to buy gifts, right, for their family and friends, and have big parties and have experiences. Like that makes them feel prosperous. Other people need lots and lots of money because they're here to learn about power, right? So be in positions where they provide prosperity for other people. So it really depends on your relationship to prosperity. So it's not what Worm Tongue is telling you what prosperity is. Well, you get in a mortgage. Look at mortgage, M-O-R-T, that means death, right? In French, mort, right? Means death till you die. Become enslaved by this system, right? The ego's telling you, well, you got the big house and you got the 2 cars and the picket fence and the luxury vacations. Meanwhile, they puts people in crazy debt, like most people in crazy debt, and that's not prosperity. That's maybe for some people that's correct for them, but it has to be unique to you, right? What does prosperity and abundance mean to you? You have to decide what that is. This is the thing, right? The 8 and the 14. The 8 here, that's about stepping away from the crowd. That's about being your unique self, not going along with the crowd, not caring what other people think about you, right? What prosperity means to you. And it's going to be unique to you. Okay. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, I like to talk about the difficult things with alcohol. There can also be, when this wounding starts releasing, there could be, you could uncover some kind of traumatic event when you were a child that involved alcohol, right? Because these entities are in these people, right? What do those entities want to go for? They want to go for children. They want, right? Sexually abused children. So you may be, every time you're drinking, you may be recreating this trauma event. So you want to be aware of that too. But this is going to really help, right? And often the healing will come first. Like the big cry will come first and the big emotional release. And then the story will come after. The wisdom kind of comes after. I think we're being protected in that way. I feel spiritually that we receive the story after, when we're ready, right? When we're in this position, fully in this position here, right? And this is the detachment, not numbed out, but detached, right? Yeah. So just keep that in mind too. In my experience, I found that recreating some kind of trauma event when you were a child in order to heal, right? And it's like this pattern. If you're in a pattern, you want to look at it. Like, what's this pattern about? What am I recreating over and over again? Okay. Let's see. So there's Paige, Satnam, Jeanette, Tammy, Robert, Jeanette, Bethany, Sally. I'm a projector. Emotional projector. Yeah. Oh, Jen Goodwin. I forgot to reply to your comments. Thank you so much. So I went to the sound healing on Sunday, and there ended up being a few Kundalini yogis that I hadn't seen like in a long time on the island. So I mentioned their comment, or your comment in the dream that you had about doing workshops and stuff. And the yogis there were like, well, what are you waiting for? Right? She said, what are you waiting for then? So it was actually a catalyst to get us going. So we're going to have a retreat, like a little weekend filled with workshops. And with human design too. I want to bring human design, maybe some shadow work too. So maybe during the Lions Portal, we've got to nail down the dates first. But anyway, I plan the live stream it here on YouTube. So thank you for sharing your dream. Jen had a really good dream. It's in the comment in my last video. C.A. Patterson, yeah. Well, try that meditation. Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's tiny little worm tongue, and he's even tinier than that. Right? That's where he belongs. Right? Your great soul he can't exist in this. Right? His frequency is so low and negative. You're the one that has to go down to him. He can't come up to you. The thing is, you're the host. You're the host. You have to look at yourself as the host, and that's the parasite. Right? The parasite needs the host. The host doesn't need the parasite, right? So you want to be up here. Keep yourself up here. And right, and sometimes you're going to go low emotionally, but don't let worm tongue grab you while you're down there. You know, don't go into fear. Don't be listening to worm tongue. Yeah. Oh, your best friend's son has died. Waheguru. Yeah. And Karen from New York, Satnam. Okay. And Katie from Texas, Satnam. This issue of material, yeah, you can't move forward because it's about your frequency. You got to look at it. It's not a money problem, right? It's a spiritual problem. It's a frequency problem. You think God sent you down here during this time in the great shift of the ages so you could just pay bills and die? I don't think so. It's not a good plan. I think God's smarter than that, right? That you'll be taken care of. Oh, that reminds me of a story. This story of, in ancient India, I talked about this, at 9 years old, the child would be sent to a spiritual teacher to undo any damage that the parents had done. So anyway, he was 10 years old at the time, right? And there's the master, right? The master spiritual teacher in India. And he said, let's go for a walk. So they went walk through the countryside. And then the master looked at the kid and said, go climb that tree. Go climb that tree. So the kid climbed the tree and the master took off. He didn't come back for 3 days, right? And so he said, okay, come down. So the kid stayed in the tree for 3 days. He said, what did you learn? Well, he said, I learned that besides obeying, right? He learned about obeying. Because you can look at teacher, inner teacher, like I'm obeying my intuition, I'm obeying my inner teacher. But he said, well, I learned that there were certain branches that I couldn't sleep on because I would fall off. They couldn't hold my weight and they weren't wide enough, right? So he learned the branches where to sleep. He learned that the tree had berries that he could eat. He learned the best place to poop and pee, right? Because he had to do that. And then he used leaves to clean himself. And then he had water. He could capture water to drink and then that water to clean himself, right? So this is my words, right? How I see this is that that the divine provides everything for you, everything you need. If you just look around, like that's what he learned, I feel. He didn't express that, but that's what he learned, was everything was there that he needed. Creation will serve us with everything that we need. And we need to go into that trust space, right? The mind wants to strategize, right? Worm tongue wants to get in there and strategize. And you got to compete and you got to fight for those little crumbs. You got to fight for the toilet paper at Costco, right? Or at Walmart. You've got to hoard food for yourself, all this nonsense that you've got to really trust that you'll be taken care of. And this doesn't mean to be careless because your intuition, my intuition's given me the heads up on so many things. And now years later, I think, thank God I did that because I was listening to my intuition. It made no sense at the time, but it makes perfect sense now. So it's obeying your intuition in the moment, right? That you'll be guided. Right, you'll be provided for, like everything will be okay. So you want to get into that trust space, and that's going up here, right, into your true security. That God will take care of you. The divine will take care of you. Takes care of all creatures on our planet. Why not us, right? Why not us? Okay. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Tua. Thank you, Tua. Okay. I know Petite Mort, the small death, that means orgasm, Jen. The French have such a poetry for sexuality. Yeah. See, this is what we have to do, Jen. We've got to undo our programming. I feel like that's really what the spiritual journey is. It's like, it's capturing all those parts of ourselves that we compromised, that we gave up. We gave up, like bringing our original self back and undoing. It's the undoing, the unlearning. We didn't get a spiritual teacher at 9 years old to undo the damage that was done to us. Okay. Oh. C.A. Patterson, how do manifestors and projectors interact? That's a good question, because both of them are non-energy types. Well, the projector would be perfect for a manifestor, actually, because they understand manifestors. Manifestors can create a lot of residual damage in their relationships, right? Because they can be seen as very cold in a way, because of their auras and how they impact people. That's what you're here for. So a projector would understand a manifestor in terms of freedom, right? Because manifestors need freedom and projectors need freedom too. I think it would be a good match, actually. Okay. Boogie's passed out here on he's down below me. Okay. Jen says, I watched the videos 3 times and I get something new. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, gentle. It's on Maui. So it's probably going to be August, because it's the weekend. So August 6th and 7th. And then the Lionsgate is the 8th. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's an interesting question too. I'm entering into a Uranian relationship. Do you offer readings or advice? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I've been dabbling in that myself. Yeah, let me get back to you on that. But there's a lot. I want to start teaching Venus Kriyas. That's what I was talking to the yogi on Sunday, because it was the healing the divine masculine. That's why I was really drawn to the sound healing workshop. And I was remembering, I can't remember where it was. It might have been my Kundalini Yoga teacher training. And at the end, we had this amazing meditation, because it was the year that the most men, that's right, the most men were there. Like there was the most male students ever, was the year that I went. And that's the year that the men's yoga camp started. And I was a big part of that creation. Anyway, the women sat in the center, and then the men surrounded the women in a circle, and then we had this call and answer meditation. So you could hear the women's voices and then the men's voices. I love that. I love hearing men and women sing together. And it was so powerful. And the men were totally in their divine masculine protector energy, and the women were in their receptive divine feminine energy. And the women were like in tears, like after they said that, it just felt so protected, right? And I was just thinking of that and I hadn't thought about that meditation in years and years, but at this workshop I did, and it was like, oh, that would have been amazing to do, right? So this is, we don't know what it's going to turn into. It's really a co-creation, this workshop, but I'm going to live stream it, so you guys will be able to see it. Yes, and Venus Kriyas, and they've been buried. And I love teaching them. It's just like magical energy, right? So if you've been to White Tantric, I don't think they have White Tantric yoga anymore. This is the closest. It's eye gazing with your partner. And then there's particular mudras, and sometimes there's mantra. It's so powerful. So powerful. Yeah. Venus Kriyas. Okay, so let's do some cards here while you're here. But leave in your comments what like ideas and what you'd like to see. I'm a projector, right? I need an invitation. But Aquarian relationships are, I can really feel that in the consciousness. It excites me because it's so new, right? The Aquarian relationships. I haven't seen one yet. Okay. Okay, what do the people need to see? What Worm Tongue is saying to the people here? The people that will watch in the future. This one here. Okay. And then this clarification card for competition. What goes with competition? This one. Okay. So it's competition, right? My cards aren't printed yet. So I just talked about that, didn't I? With this compromise. So that's another way that we compromise. Because the Aquarian age, we're going from competition to cooperation. How we work together. So like co-creation, right? Cooperation. Because we have to work together. It's the group consciousness. We're moving out of this tribal consciousness and individual consciousness. The worship of the individual is coming to an end. Right? It means we need to individuate, though, first to be able to work together, right? And then we're moving into this co-creation space together. So competition is built on the ego's pride and fear. And the origins of that, it comes from a lack of bonding in your family. We learn a lot of these dynamics and how we work together and how we relate to one another in our family of origin. So chances are you've had a dysfunctional family of origin experience. So you're competing for love, right? As children just want love. Competing with your siblings. And often a parent too. Be competing with your parent. And the competition is about the ego. Like, I need to be the top. Worm tongue, right? You need to be at the top. You need to be at the top of the heap. But as soon as you're at the top of the heap, there's another heap to climb, right? This competitive energy never ends. And this is all about what we're taught about material security, that we've got to compete. That starts in school, right? With the grades, and you're judged and evaluated. Who's at the top, who's at the bottom. Right? We're taught from day one to compete. That we're not enough. Right? That's what the ego tells us. Like, you're not enough. You're not enough. Right? So we can compete. We can feel worthless, actually, but compensate for it by competing. In competition, you're like, well, I'm not competitive, but I excel. I excel at so many things. But it may be so under wraps, right? This competition, you may not even be aware of it, that you compete so much that you don't see it. You know, that's another way for the ego to hide it. Like, you excel. So if you want to use this energy of competition, it's about bonding, right? So look at that. Like, I've had to look at that too. Like with because some teachers mentioned this. Yeah, we come into a teacher's class, you know, sometimes in interior BC, like just to have a class, right? A Kundalini yoga class. And they would tell me later, oh, I felt so threatened when you were in my class, right? I felt threatened. And I said, well, why? And she said, it was just the ego coming up, right? And it's really coming from, you're not good enough, right? I need to be in competition with this other teacher. That we've got to let people play their competitive games if they want. But we have to look at it as like we're co-collaborators, right? They're in the same field as me, but they're not me, right? There's no other Michael Neutrino. There's no other you, right? So go to the truth. Don't listen to this worm tongue. telling you that you're not good enough and you got to compete and be better than that other person. And teachers do this all the time. They're stealing my students. They're going to steal my students. This comes from a deep insecurity. There's no security here with the ego. None whatsoever. Your security's up here, right, with your infinite soul. So this is going to build, right? Let go of this competition and it will build your greatness, the greatness of your soul. That's what's great. The soul doesn't compete with anything, right? And then you've got the Seven of Pentacles here. And you see the little sprout coming out of the ground. So this is about investing, what you want to invest in. Do you want to invest in this competitive energy, or do you want to invest something with an Aquarian consciousness, right? And how you know it's an Aquarian consciousness? It's synergy. There's synergy there. There's like these things that are coming together. You would never think they would come together, right? So whatever that looks like on the external, you'll know it when you see it. It's like, this is very Aquarian. And it's not forced. It's coming through love. Like these different things are coming and merging together, you know? That's how you know it's something worth investing in. And it's humanitarian, you know? I know I was talking to a stockbroker here, and I was talking about investments, and I said, what are the best investments? And he said, weaponry, right? Defense contracts and things like that. And I said, I can't do that because I don't believe in that. I don't want to invest in that. That's not Aquarian. That's destructive, right? Destruction. Even though tons of people are making tons of money off of it now, I wouldn't want to be on the end of their karma, right? At the end, like investing in that, destruction and killing people and murdering children and families, right? Oh, that's a good investment, right? You've got to look into the future. The Aquarian age is like looking beyond what's now, right? It's long-term view. What do you want to invest in? That's what this is saying. So planting seeds, right? It's planting seeds. So you can do this for yourself. Don't compromise like that. Oh, well, everybody's making money from destroying other people in other countries, right? Well, everybody else is doing it. Why shouldn't I do it? That's compromise. You're compromising your soul, right? You're compromising your soul here, and you're leaking your energy. You want to look at things that you feel good about, right? That have a long-term investment. That's what the Seven of Pentacles is saying. And to do your work, like this is the time to do it, to build your abundance. Yeah. And invest in yourself first. There's a great way to start. Invest in yourself first, you know? So if you've been meaning to, like, I'm going to put my shingle out, I'm going to be a healer or a life coach, or really put myself out there as a teacher, then start investing in yourself. And you do that with money, right? I'm going to go and I'm going to get a good office space or whatever material or resources you need. You're making that baby step forward, and then you'll be shocked at how the universe supports you. My ex-wife used to say this all the time to me. She said, because I'm not interested in money, what I told you about, right? I just want to create and be free. That's what I'm into. That's what prosperity means to me. But sometimes I would just feel this build up, because I've got the 14, like in a major position, and I would be like, I just had to spend money. It was like this pressure. I just had to spend money. And it would be books, right? I love books, and I love technology and gadgets and things like that. So I would go out, and I was a danger in a metaphysical bookstore. I would just be going out with a pile of books and cards, right? Tarot, oracle cards. And she said whenever you would do that, like this big spending spree, right? She said within a couple days, that same amount of money and a little bit more would come in. It would be following me, right? That money to cover it, right? She said every time it was like a pattern with you. So this is what we've got to trust, you know, and it wasn't coming from an ego place. It was a soul desire. I need these resources because I'm expanding. Every time you expand, you need more resources, right? So invest in yourself. and what you need. And you're saying to the universe, right? It's the language of action, the Aquarian age. Like, I'm serious about this. Look, I've just invested something, my money, my hard-earned money, into this, and you'll be supported. So let's see what the gift is. So no competition. That's the ego. Don't play the ego scheme. If people want to compete with you, let them. But don't play for that game. Don't play that game. It's compromise. And it's stealing your abundance. There's enough for everybody. That's competition. There's a lack. It's a scarcity consciousness. There's not enough for everybody. Okay. What's the gift underneath all this? I love synchronicity. So it's one of the sutras for the Aquarian age. When the pressure of time is on you, start and the pressure will be off. And I just did a video on this. What the first sutra, I think. Go and watch that video. It's like an hour long. So this is about taking action. Right? This is about taking action. Get out of this frequency of compromise and start taking action towards your dream. Like, what inspiring thoughts have been coming in for you? Like, what have you been postponing? Right? It's time to start with a baby step. It can be really, really a small baby step. I like to break things down in chunks. I've got my big goals, and then I just write down all the steps, so it's out of my head, and then you just make you do one of those baby steps every day, and then suddenly you've manifested it, right? It can be that easy. So if you're feeling this pressure of time, right, and it's going to come through as stress, there's not enough time, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do that, and you can't get logical. That's what the worm tongue does, right? Well, you got to do the old way, the logical way, the strategic way. It's like, no, we got to start listening to our intuition and acting on our intuitive guidance and working that way. This is old. This is the past. These old ways of being are they're dying, right? You've got to listen to your intuition, of what steps to take. And that's just like starts with commitment. This one starts with commitment. When the pressure of time is on, it's like I'm committing to my soul purpose, whatever it is, and I'm going to start to take actions. They don't have to be huge actions, but it'll be amazing how the momentum, right? The momentum builds on this. So that's what this is saying, and not letting worm tongue stop you with this. Well, everybody else is doing the same thing as you. How are you going to make money? Right? All that lack, don't listen to that. You want to get up here, right? Get up here in that space. Okay. Okay. So that's what I have for today. That's what I have for today. Let me see. Okay. So thank you, everybody, for attending the live and writing your comments, right? Like, give me some ideas, too. I like to run with people's ideas as a projector. And what do we want to say about this? It's cleanup time. That's what I feel. Like, it's, how you build maybe if you've built like a piece of furniture or something or a project, and it's all done, but you got to polishing. I feel like that's what the stage we're in now as spiritual people. It's like we've done so much work, right? I've been at this for a long time myself, and it's just like there's, it's just like little tweaks and stuff, like things that you used to be able to do before you can't anymore. Like your diet changes. Like my diet radically changed this year, because of my intuition guided me. Your intuition will, this little alcohol habit you have, that has to go now, right? And your body's just going to show you, right, what has to go. But just know that you're not improving. I mean, the soul can't improve, but you're getting stronger. We need to be strong. We need to be healthy as spiritual people now on the planet to handle these frequencies, these high frequencies that are coming in now, right? You need a strong body and a strong mind, and you need to be sober. You need to be sober, right? We're like walking the razor's edge. That's what I feel, and for consciousness, the razor's edge, so that we're not trapped, that we don't get trapped in this net of soul, the soul harvest net, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'll probably be here on Thursday because we've got a full moon coming up. And enjoy your solstice and really let these words wash over you. And, right, it's not about blaming. I shouldn't have done this, or I'm a bad person because I've had this habit. It's like, no, rolling up your sleeve. It's time to let this go now, right? It's time to get the upgrade, right? It's 2.0. Okay? So have a wonderful day and evening wherever you are in the world, and happy solstice for the folks in the Western Hemisphere. Okay, Sat Nam Aloha.